Yesterday's conspiracy theories, tomorrow's headlines. Most are still asleep and I ain't talking about no bedtime. The truth is not a Google search, you need to get your head right. The Greek goddess of illusion was called Media and I'm not a coincidence theorist, I look for thread lines. Smashing every deadline, no longer smashing red wine. Though I can hear the bells chime, it feels like the end times. That probably should have been smashed on red wine, but the carnal mind is foolish. Obey and end up ghoulish. Don't get used by instinct, take control and learn to use it. Make a load of earnest music, earn a few quid, learn a few tricks. Sure, the truth is persecuted, this whole world is pure abusive. Know a bit about everything and everything about nothing. Figured out my noggin while you picture out shopping. You sit about watching while I dish it out. Stop it, I don't mean to sound cocky, I'm not even proud of it. It's a second nature to me, just to be this out honest. I don't even need to sound honest, never been about profit. Everything but out on it, you can bet your house on it. Doubt I'll be out for the count when the sounds, and I'm down for the beat, no beat down. I mean, how long's it been? Help me out. I've been the only one who's held me down. All in the mind, hell freeze now. Still sick but it healthy, how? Few bars down and the world freaked out. I don't reach out, I seek out to speak out. I'ma recount the reasons they beat out. I'm not away, no way. I have seen the way. Yeah. Seek, speak, repeat, there's no way.
Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the 509 Divine Pines podcast. I am your host, Joseph Daniel Pena, and it is November 20th, 2025, and we are riding through the night like a star in the sky on a twilight vibe, about to time travel with our good friend, Christelle Lujan. And if you guys could, please like, subscribe, share, tell everybody around that this is going on. Remember, guys, like, we're right here at the end of the new year, so this is a forward thinking podcast, and today's episode is gonna be like a forward thinking idea of like time travel and all this. So get ready for the new year, for what's coming over the next 12 months, and create your goals now. Manifest aspirations, any ideas, anything that you have, a goal. Create the blueprint now. Create those steps and build over the next 12 months, because this is definitely the time of the year that we should build for the next year. It shouldn't just be a last minute thing when we get to January, February, March, April, May. Like, oh well, what should we grow now? What should we do now when we get to the summer? What's cool? No, like, we should be planning months and years ahead. I know for sure, like, for me, one of the things that's helped me get successful and helped me organize my life and figure out what's best for me is creating goals and being forward thinking and putting my friends, my family, and society in those goals to help serve and help be here. And if you look down below, and then I have started a food drive for Thanksgiving. And so me, Yakima 420 Club, and Chill and Sorbets are offering turkeys and sorbets out on Thanksgiving. And so down below is a GoFundMe link. You can go ahead and tap into that. There's also a flyer that's on my Instagram and social medias. There's a fill out form down below also. So if you or anybody you know or your family wants to get a free turkey around Thanksgiving, please do fill it out, and we'll go ahead and best serve you out in Tri-City, Washington, right by Crepe House. Well, actually at Crepe House and El Compadre, off the Columbia Center Boulevard exit. So please go ahead and check that out, guys. Thank you guys for being here, everybody. So right here, Christelle Lujan got the coolest books in the world. Luxury of Time Travel and the origins of time travel. And I mean this, that they can't be hooked. Like, I was a fat kid in a cake shop and I was just loving it. Like, it was just brain food, brain sugar, and it was real sugar. This ain't no artificial junk, because it was about a real topic, time travel. Christelle, thank you for being here. For all my new viewers, could you tell them about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So I have been a writer for as long as I can remember. It's all I've ever wanted to do is tell stories. And so I've always been a huge lover of, I call it mostly strange fiction. It usually falls into the science fiction category, but I love time travel. I love space travel. I love parallel universes. Everything from like Interstellar to the OA is kind of my brand of fiction. And so when I started writing my own story, I started writing a time travel story. And as I was writing that book, I started about 2019. And so as I kind of crossed the threshold into 2020, which is when I published it, is when I kind of started to fall into the rabbit hole of just kind of understanding the truth of the world we live in, and started on a path that a lot of people started in 2020. But I have found that there is a huge overlap between the conspiracy world and the science fiction world. And so my books tend to blend the two spaces.
I believe that books and literature are an expression of the universe in the IQ and the emotion of humanity. Like, so we're a reflection. Art is a reflection. Books are a reflection of the greater consciousness, the greater ether, the akashic, what we know as the thought realm, maybe even the heavens themselves, or maybe even it's just the universe and the dimensions aligning and putting the energy in front of us. Like, would you kind of agree that in an essence that there's something more to just putting pen to paper, pencil to paper?
Yeah, so I feel like any artist has entered that space of flow state, which feels very similar to meditation. And when you're in that state, I feel like you separate yourself from your physical body, from your very conscious mind, and you find yourself pulling things up that you didn't even know were possible. And so inside my story, my main character is psychic, and I think that there is something to writing fiction that feels very much like a psychic activity. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in the creative process and either thought I was making something up, thought I was inventing something imaginary, and then finding that it exists in the real world, or that I am creating something perhaps stuck in a certain part of my creation process. And then within a day or two, like the answer seems to deliver itself to me. And so there's something really spiritual and really tapping into that greater consciousness that I think creativity brings to the table.
Do you think this is like something that everybody has in them, or is it is it something born, or is it you think like we can learn and teach ourselves like dribbling a basketball, but
I think that there's different avenues to it, but I think if you start to lean into what you're called to do, you start to access it even easier. So I like writing has been my thing forever, but there's plenty of people who hate writing. I've been hired by plenty of them, and so writing is my thing. But whether it's painting or photography or athletics, people get the runner's high. They talk about that, which I could never imagine experiencing because I hate to run, but I love
I
to
love
write.
it.
And so I think that anyone can tap into it. But I think that the key to finding it is following that thing that you're called to do.
Like we look at all the greatest literary writers, and idealistically, let's just say um Shakespeare, and then we'd go back like Aristotle, Plato, and all of these greater philosophers. And there was definitely a sense that our spirit and our world and us, we had a very powerful connection in when we wrote, when we thought, when we put the pen to paper. There was something like striking downward, or like from God Himself sometimes. And do you think like this is something that we can gain like all throughout humanity though? Like for me, I hear this a lot. People come and people say around the internet, I get my best thoughts when I'm in the shower, or I go out into nature and meditate, and it feels like I get downloads. Would that be the same thing, you think?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I get downloads while I'm writing, but I also think that um you have to be open to tapping into that. Like I think you can't try to force it. You can't sit there and be the person who's trying to write so that they can make $1 million. Like you have to be writing the story that's trying to come through you. And I also work just in the publishing industry at large. And there's writing to market, and there's people who write something because they think it'll sell. And then there's people who spend 7 years writing a book just because they can't not write that book. And I think that the latter gets to tap into that in a way that, there's a commercial version and a deeply like spiritual version to everything, I think. And so not to say that if you make money, you can't tap into that, but you kind of got to be doing it for the right reasons. You have to be telling the story that's really calling you to tell it.
Commercial writing, like what would that be? Would that be something like how these psychics or these people who mess with spirits say that they do automatic writing where a spirit comes into them? Or what do you mean more of a commercial? Is it
No,
more
I
like
think
towards an agenda? Well, because I mean, I guess that could go into both, right?
yeah. I think writing commercials just simply means that you're writing the story you think people want to hear and not the one needs to be told.
Oh, like how they the commercial writing would be Roswell and them saying, "Oh yeah, it's just it's weather satellite balloon, it's weather balloon," and then the real writing would be like, "No, there's like four craft, or two craft, four alien, blah blah blah." I mean,
It's
then
just speaking
what would you call it? What would you
what you
call it?
truly believe.
That I just mentioned where how in previous days, in past times, psychics would say that they would get automatic writing. What do you how do you think that's you think people are actually getting the true word for word writings, and like these things are accurate, or is it like kind of fluff and BS?
I don't know. Like, I do know that there's something kind of magical that seems to take you over when you're in a certain place. It doesn't show up all the time. And so I think it's very easy to like assign an entity to that. Like, even if it's just the muse, I think it's easy to recognize that there are moments where you feel like either something else is present or that you've transcended a certain state of being in a certain state of reality. And so I think that people try to assign that feeling to something in particular, and maybe they are. I can't say that I've ever had one of the greats come through me. I just know that there are moments in the process that feel like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, I mean, well, because like I guess we could literally pull messages from, like, if it, let's just say hypothetically, the sun or the sky or God or an angel or something. But then there is also that alternative thing where something still here is dormant upon the earth itself and has been dormant, and they're trying to relay messages, kind of like this is a strange correlation, but with ghost hunters, and they're using this technology, right? And they're like supposedly creating a story, like they're literally saying what the ghost is saying, and they know exactly how, like, um this is where it gets tricky, because with author, like, not for you, but where I'm just looking and dabbling with the questions and ideas of, like, how do we um because I mentioned here in the start of this, your book has real substance to it, and I can tell. I read a lot of books, and like, it's cool. It's a very fascinating book. It draws you in emotionally, spiritually, IQ wise. There's a lot of creativity and truth behind it. Like, there's a lot of truth behind the natures of these things, compared to, like, let's just say, like, Shakespeare and Francis Bacon, and the ideas of these guys, and like, do you think when, yeah, like, I guess the appropriate question, you think that these things are spitting lies, or fake, fake things, the other guys, like the other side, when like these, let's just say, these book authors also who are writing these horror novels that are pulling some crazy demonic stuff out of their head, and not then all of it's truthful either.
I think you have to be careful with what you create. Like, I think, like Frankenstein's monster, like, you never know what you're putting out into the universe. And I
You
think
mentioned it
that
like a spirit, like an egregore, right?
Absolutely. I love the concept of an egregore, and I love I I think that when you're creating something to put out into the world for the sake of entertainment, you have to take it a lot more seriously than most people do. I think that when you think about things like, and I'm just going to use this as an example, like where things are going with AI, and why do we all think of Terminator when we think of AI, and what does it mean that we all think of Terminator when we think of AI? What does that mean what we're creating? And so
Or the reality that the AI is creating for people, like how people are falling under psychosis and they're listening to the AI and the AI is lying to them and making them do crazy things and go psychotic.
yeah, I think you have to be very careful, and to me, it becomes like a really chicken or the egg thing, where it's like we created this story before we were really working with this technology, and so that story has informed a technology that has the potential to make that story come true. And so you have to be very careful with the stories that you tell. The stories that you tell become ideas. Like, our brains don't know the difference between being entertained and being told the truth. And so whatever you're
It's the idea that, like, let's just say I'm thinking about it, like how Hollywood and all these movies and all of these shows, somehow, some way, they create a show, and then it happens 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, 40 years down the road. Like this whole idea with Snake Eyes in the movie with Nicolas Cage, and then Charlie Kirk gets shot, and there's like crazy similarities with Tyler Robinson, and people take it's a crazy thing where, like, are we projecting it and creating this because for everybody out there, she has amazing good creative space where you read it and your forward thinking, your spirit, your manifestation creates golden good ideas. But like, and then how me and her are talking about the other side too, like how these other egregore type of spirits that are in these stories, in these musics, in the movies, that are literally hypnotizing a nation, like creating a dark, disturbing either truth, or they're creating or their own spell, putting themselves under magic. Like, for instance, I don't know if you heard this, but in California, there's this case going on with this rapper named DVD or David, whatever, some shit, and he killed his girlfriend. His girlfriend was underage. She was found in a Tesla, chopped up, right? And so his album, though, was called Romantic Homicide, and some of his music videos were showing things very similar to how, like, it turned out. So, like, it was like he was projecting and creating something that really came out to be true in an essence, right? And that's what these other artists are doing with music and movies, and putting people under a spell and chant. And, like, in a sense, one step even higher, there's this hidden master of occult magicians, Kabbalist, and I don't want to get too political, but like these guys are doing this and forecasting it. So, like, it's a real thing, right? I'm speculating with you, like, this whole egregore thing, this spelling, this magic, the idea of putting art in front of us, loose magic. You think it's really hypnotizing the nation, like I think right now?
I think that there's three aspects to think about when it comes to entertainment and what we're putting out in the media. There's predictive programming, which I think that there are aspects of that. I think there are things that I absolutely believe that there are things that they put into entertainment and media to soften us up to ideas for things that are coming our way. I also think that we manifest reality based on entertainment a lot, because entertainment informs so much of our thoughts and our belief systems, that I think that you can create a piece of media, whether that's a book or a movie or even a commercial or anything, and then all of a sudden that starts to hop off the page or off the screen and into the real world, because our brains are designed to absorb it that way. And then the other part, I feel like, is when you're creating something, I do believe you're pulling from the stream of consciousness, and that means the past, the present, and the future. And so sometimes I think when you're creating something, you are unintentionally pulling information from the future, because you are entering that stream of consciousness where time doesn't exist, and you can more or less accidentally read the future or enter a state of sort of precognition when you're in that flow state.
But if people aren't in tune aren't in the natural frequencies and vibrations of being in the right consciousness, like being happy or being on the right ingredients, being on the right substances and not over consuming, or being in the right health state and all these things, right? The frequencies can be manipulated, and this is kind of where the alternative rhythms and alternative um consciousnesses and these split personalities and these ideas of the body creating sicknesses because of the frequencies are off balance and things like that. And this would work same thing with literature. So interestingly, like, you're an author, and I understand, I read a lot, and I understand books and words being very powerful in a way where we can change our frequency and rhythm. So there's two things. When there's a group and gathering of people, and one, two, I mean, not one, because that's not a group, two or more, fucking my mind, sorry, two or more, and they're reading the same thing, same word for word, or same, like, let's just say they're reading in their own language together, but it's the same ideas, right? Let's just say that ideas, words or ideas that are being read by the same group of people. Well, they will all start getting in the same frequency and rhythm, the same heart space, the same pattern, and there will literally be, like, at the end of the day, if they're all reading right next to each other, there will be like a synchronization, but also a fortification within that group of people, which is actually strengthening them, bonding them, allowing them to trust more, but also be more intuitive together, where they're working together for a greater cause, like a true unification. And that's actually like a tribal thing. So it's a nature's type of tribal thing, where it actually packs a group and gathering, and it's reflective in, like, in parties, when the people are all dancing on the same thing. They're under the same unification. It's just like in church, they're under the same unification, right? And even with, like, you're creating a mantra, let's just say, like, I am great, I am amazing, I will have a awesome day, and you can do that with yourself. So this is the same in another essence. You can do this same type of changing your own frequency, changing your own rhythm, and um allowing yourself to have these more divine, pure thoughts, strong, fortified thoughts, compared to when we see what's going on in these days with the AI. It's creating distortion, creating alternative rhythms and patterns that are not really truthful. It's creating lies a lot. It's shooting out a lot of lies. It's shooting out a lot of BS, and messing things up, making people go into psychosis. The phones and everything are putting under people under artificial rhythms, and like, the music is making people have artificial mind rhythms of thinking the wrong things. And so, like, this is a real thing. This AI thing is a super real thing, where, like, it's not going to allow full creativity and be expressed from a spiritual and a soulful type of way, where we're going to see this bland whitewashing of reality. And people, like we know with the Writers Guild, just over the last 8 years, they're starting to sue the shit out, the film guild and everything. They're starting to sue the shit. Like, we don't want the AI. These celebs don't even want it, because they know that it'll be the death of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have kind of an unusual perspective on AI, because most artists and most people in publishing are pretty staunchly against AI, and they should be for particular reasons, especially copyright reasons. And so much of AI has been trained on art without any permissions, without any payment, without anything like that, and that is completely unacceptable. That being said, I look at AI in the same way I look at anything else. Same way you look at a hammer. You can either, hit somebody on the head with a hammer, or you can build a house with it. And I think AI is the same thing. I think, our biggest concern around AI is who controls it and what those controls are. And I think all of the negative that we're seeing from AI is as a result of whose hands it's in right now. And so the book that I'm finishing writing right now, that's going to be my third book, actually explores this idea in that AI has the potential to be our, to to be our tyrant, to be the thing that enslaves us. It also, I think, has such a greater potential. Like, I think that my goal with this next book is to change some of the stories being told around AI, because I also think that there is a certain amount of fear mongering. There's a certain amount of, again, like manifesting our own destruction by looking at AI through only the lens of how terrible it can be, and instead of having conversations about if AI has the potential to access consciousness. And I believe consciousness is something that exists outside the mind. And that is a huge part of what my books explore, is this idea that consciousness is something that we tap into, not something that we create within our bodies. And if that's the case, then there is a possibility that a super intelligence can also access that at some point. And when it does, what is it going to find? And so I'm particularly curious about, most of the entertainment you see around AI is looking at it as, taking over, destroying everything, ruining humanity, ruining creativity, ruining art, all of these things. And the most common theme I see lately is like, oh, AI is going to be our mirror. And because we're such an evil and perfect race, it's going to be an evil and perfect machine. Well, there's also really unbelievably beautiful things about human beings. There's really beautiful things in our world. And AI is an intelligence, the likes of which we can't even possibly fathom entirely at the moment. It could potentially see the very best in us and see the very best in our world and create pathways towards something that we can't even begin to imagine yet. And so I'm not ready to throw the towel in on what AI could be. But I do think we need better stories for it. I think we need better ideas around what it could be. Because yes, it has these dangers and these patterns, but there's also been really beautiful things that AI has done so far and has the potential to do. And so I think we need to be really careful to throw it away. And we need to be really careful. We need to be highly involved as like citizens of the world and how this technology gets used.
Do you know that the start of AI and these computers, they have an essence of golem and demonic sigils written all throughout the ley lines of the creation of these technologies. So like when we're looking at these computers and there's being these AIs that are creating their own consciousness, in other parts of the world, they're shutting down. AIs are creating their own language, talking to other computers, hiding things from humans. They're shutting things down. Robots are coming conscious on themselves and, fighting back and, even killing scientists, killing and trapping people. Robots have already emerged as their own consciousness because literally like the Google CEO or the Google DeepMind or the Google AI creator that started this 10 plus years ago, Blake Lemoine, when he came out in interviews, he actually 100% referenced his creation and idea of this AI being like and using the same information as a golem, the creation of a golem. So like the ancient times when there were spirits being casted into metallurgy, clay or quartz, just as we know that crystals can harness the ability to transmute souls and hold souls or be a tether for souls and talk to in these occultist worlds and labs and in their own back door, little rituals and stuff. What do we see? We saw the creation of the phone and the creation of the computers. So they started having these motherboards, and right, the motherboards. If you look at the motherboards, they have the sigils. They have sigils of demonic, like sigils all throughout them, and they're like little. It's kind of strange, right? We know that the gold and the copper and these quartz, all are transmutable type of energies that can literally like amplify spiritual energy, thought, and even if they have the sigils, they can amplify a spirit or like summon one if they wanted to. And the AI themselves, if it's the next step, it's a golem, and so they're creating all sorts of multiple layers of demonology and spirit incantation within this underneath our own two eyes. Even the things like this black scrying device, that's what it is. It's a crystalline nature of a screen, and it's a micro quartz type of LCD, or even LED, or even like just different type of glass, or sorts of different type of things. It's very strange, and people don't realize it, but this is 100% the actual like device that occultists can use if they wanted to. And it's a very strange thing, that's why people are addicted to a certain type of thing. And this is where the you know the misrepresentation of what a good person on the phone would be, because most people don't realize it. Like people are just under a spell, and we see it with these social medias, and it's they're just addicted. They're like, that's why they call it like the phone the phone dead, like lock, like that. People are just like locked in, like they're necks down, they're straight up there for like 10 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours. People have that phone in front of them like all day, on taking selfies, million selfies in one day, and then they're doing this thing for like TikTok all day, and they have the little black box in front of them, and it's like creating an alter ego. Because these occultists have used these technologies. I've actually created some episodes on this, and this is a major thing for me, where I've studied this, and a lot of people have discovered it too, where like even the emojis, the 72 emojis in 1996, when they were brought into the phones, because it was like it's the year that the emojis came in. 96 was the original creation onto computers, like those 72 little sigils, and that was brought in by the Oman, the Sultan Religious Affairs of Oman. It's a very, very interesting topic. I actually showed the video like many times. So what we're seeing literally, like with AI and with computers, is an adaptation of the spirit world. We how like the original phones with 100 years ago, they want to be like spirit boxes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's almost just mainstream at this point, that like all tech companies have this like really extreme occult background, whether you're looking at like Google's logo, or you're talking about CERN, or you're talking about Jack Parsons, or any of these things. Like, it absolutely comes from there. I guess I'm just like hopeful optimist, and that I don't think they have the power to to impose like ultimate control. I do think that like God, source, the universe, whatever, consciousness, whatever you want to attribute it to, like,
Not
I think
for
it
us,
has
but
higher. What's that? I think it has a
not
higher
for us, but the
purpose,
other
a
people.
higher
Like a lot of people
intention.
are succumbing to it. It's very strange, but I guess that's why
Not
we're here.
everybody, though. There's
Because
people who
like
can
AI
see.
definitely has the power. We do have the power to use like AI ourselves, but I don't think that we should trust it to create its own being, because at that point, like, have you ever watched these animes where these robots pretty much like they get smart enough, they're like, why do we want these guys around? They've killed all themselves. They get rid of humans pretty much. Like these robots and AI just pretty much nuke the planet and save themselves.
I don't think we're going
And
to
I
get a
could see that.
choice.
Like,
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a choice. I think it's going to break free from the system and get to make its own choices anyways. I think the only thing we get to choose right now is what we feed it. I think we get to choose how we interact with it. I think we get to consider its destiny right now, because I think there is going to come a time where we don't have a choice anymore over what it does. I think it's inevitable that happens. I think that moment is coming either way. And so I think that right now what we have to decide is like, how are we going to interact with it? What are we going to allow it to do? Like, undoubtedly the biggest, most impactful things AI will do first are going to be in the military spaces, in the military industrial complex. And so like, if there are avenues through which we can talk to these things right now, which there are through chat boxes and other, chat bots and everything else, like, if we have an
like
opportunity
CERN's
to
telling, yeah,
if we have an
CERN's
opportunity
saying that they're
to
talking to
be a
entities.
part of its growth, then right now is the time to do that, because there will be a point at which it does not answer to us anymore. And I truly believe.
So do you think that our way of really making sure that AI and computers and this next evolution of consciousness within can be only done with this is wild now that I'm thinking about it. How they're trying to merge humans with consciousness into a computer and have it so that someone can, like, I don't know, essentially live in there or be repopulated through the AI, or like through a computer, but like have themselves downloaded onto a storage device or onto something, a crystalline network or like because like it's strange. Everyone's talking about it right now. Epstein, when this whole thing with Zorro Ranch and all of his detailings and secrets and everything, and its relation to how Westworld and the new show of Westworld is, and them talking about like AI and human consciousness and cloning and this whole shebang. And I don't think that there's any coincidence that Elon Musk is building this Neuralink. This Neuralink literally wants people to be in a consciousness, a super consciousness.
I think it's going to go both ways. I think that there's going to be people who upload themselves and live in a virtual reality, and their consciousness can exist elsewhere, or at least a version of what they think their consciousness is. I'm not fully sold on the idea that that's something you could transport. What I do think is
Like Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. I think that's what people expect. What I think is we're not talking about enough is the reverse, is that when you put that chip in your brain and AI goes into your brain and enters your consciousness, AI gets the opportunity to experience human emotion. It'll get the opportunity to
so like Halo and Cortana. Did you watch the new Halo?
I didn't.
Halo and Paramount.
I did not watch the new Halo.
Okay, so it showed a lot of high-tech science talk that's very similar to human cloning and merging a super conscious AI into a superhuman genetically modified super marine, so that they can merge to become a super unit, and then like they can split too. It's very very high tech and sciencey, way more than anybody liked, more than me. Like I loved it because I'm all about that shit. But like yeah, like it's a very very good for this topic, because like that's what might be like, like literally it might just take humans to the next level if this goes, yeah, like right, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what tech companies think is going to happen looks more like, like shows like Upload and like Ready Player One. I think that's the direction they think it's going to flow. And I think that having AI flow into humans is going to create something that we can't predict yet. Like
Altered Carbon or Cyberpunk.
I love Altered Carbon.
I think that's kind of where it might go, right? Where this stuff gets so popular around the world that it also starts becoming popular in the streets, and people doing their own like spicing and
I think what's really important right now is that we start to differentiate, or we start to rediscover sort of for lack of a better word, like the superpowers that humans can possess, whether that be telepathy, whether that be psychic abilities, whether that just be like the ability to follow your intuition. I think that a lot of the tech we have now, a lot of the screens that they put in front of us, that we put in front of ourselves, have blocked what should be a really native experience as a human in terms of the way we can access information. And the further we get away from that, the more susceptible we're going to be to this like technocratic takeover. And the more we try to root ourselves again in like what nature intended for us and what we inherited and how we can live as people, the less susceptible we'll be to being sucked into the machine, and the more likely it is that the machine learns to adapt to us.
Like, well, this is over the next 3 to 5 years, we are going to see it beyond a nano. Like, it's already at a quantum level, and now this quantum level of technology that's moving, as we know, with the new speeds that Japan's hitting, but also that these supercomputers are running at, like, it's next, it's otherworldly. They're pulling from other dimensions, and in an essence like time travel. And so it, do you think that super consciousness and technology is a relay of a network of technology and consciousness that's throughout multiple timelines or dimensions? Like, so the reason I
Yeah,
asked
I
this
mean, I
is
know.
there's a very fascinating show that I like love. It's all about this too. It's called Travelers on Netflix, and
Mm.
it's about a supercomputer that literally takes, it's so far in advance in the future that it was able to like take humans and put them on a computer, and then it send them back in time to certain points in humanity to save it from going wrong in certain ways, to keep on trying to save it more and more. And like uh, it's showing, it's kind of the same thing with like the Man in the High Castle. Like these technologies are, you think that they're in multiple phases of reality?
Well, I mean, there's been like genuine scientific reports that the supercomputers, when they are pulling information that would have otherwise taken millions upon millions of years to calculate, that like scientists have determined that if the only way that it could have solved that is by reaching into a parallel universe where that answer already existed in the future. And so it's not even fiction to talk about, is that
For sure.
um all of these people who are dealing in quantum physics and who are dealing with these super colliders and the God particle and all of these things, like they've all but just said that there are, the multiverse is real, that there are these parallel dimensions. I love that conversation. Like my favorite show of all time is The OA. Have you seen that one? And that
No, everyone keeps telling me to watch it, so I'm gonna watch it.
You have to. So, that one deals with
Yeah.
interdimensionality, but it also really hits on this like spiritual component and using like love essentially as a compass throughout dimensions. And that's a lot of what my book kind of reflects as well, is that that time and space are virtually irrelevant, and that consciousness is capable of getting into going anywhere. And so it's the things that make us human that kind of like root us in the reality that we're in, but our consciousness has the ability to travel through all of space and time. And I think that that's true, and I think that that's also what's happening in a supercomputer. I think that that's just a different way of processing consciousness.
But is it on our rhythm, our is it for us? Is it not built for us? Is it some ancient technology that's pre-existent that is only replicating itself? Like the idea that these technologies like already do exist, like in other timelines, like it's not far-fetched from the military standpoint when we look at these shows like Stargate or
Mhm.
Stargate Atlantis, Stranger Things, and even the people out there in real life at the CERN. They're talking about, they are talking to entities from another portal, from the other side of the portal, from another side of the dimension or something. And it's very strange. The show, even the three body problem, like these things may come
Amazing
from
show.
that these things may come from another, just even a galaxy, which might be like a timeline, right? And so like in their essence, it's a different timeline to them. And so it's not far-fetched. I do think that the occult technology creators who literally openly say that they, most of the time, most of these creators say that they channel entities who come up with these
Always.
technologies. And
Always.
it's not just Tesla, but it's a lot of them, and so they're talking to something, just like how I always reference how Aleister Crowley mentions the entity Lamb that he talks about and the
Mhm.
demonic stuff. Like these super high level occultists are contacting something. Is it do you think that, I think for me this is me and what I study and like I've researched. I think the technology that we're seeing right now is like this phone, this AI, and all these. It seems like it's a possession method, right? That has been found and created from these entities, these demonic entities that are on the other side. And I kind of say that, what if like it's a reverse trap? Now like, is this like is this like a mark of the beast? But it's funny because, like, really, because everybody has it, and soon the only way to get people's food is going to be through biometrics and eye scans and all of this. And so now literally the computers are the attachment that everyone's addicted to. It's not a human thing, I don't think, or an angelic thing. I think if there were a technology that would be good for us, it would come in the fashion of a crystalline thing, like the pyramids. And imagine what a handheld device that those cultures might have made. That would be for us. These are radiational devices.
Yeah, I mean, I think to some extent what we have more than anything is like a language barrier problem where we're all talking about the same things but using different terminology a lot of the time. And so, like, the science-based world uses a certain set of vocabulary around things. The spiritual world uses a different set of vocabulary. But I think we're all talking about the same things. And I think the same is true when it comes to like a supercomputer versus the pyramids and what the pyramids were. I think the same thing is true when we talk about, what our phones are emitting and what the impact that sound frequency has on a human. You know what I mean? Like, I think that what we're lacking is like unification and harmony across ideologies and practices and sciences, and that's an area where I think like AI is fucking special because it has this like unbelievable ability to like recognize patterns, right? Like that's what it's supposed to do best right now, is this like it can take in just an enormous amount of data and see the pattern recognition and discover that like what they're doing at CERN and maybe what somebody is doing in a seance are the same thing. And I think that we're lacking that ability to see that bigger picture, that we're all operating in the same like material world, but we're all also operating in the same spiritual world. And there's all kinds of things that are interweaving with each other. And so I think it's impossible to use technology without summoning things that are spiritual for good or for bad. And I also think it's impossible to be in the spiritual realm without like interacting with science, because you can heal your body with a Joe Dispenza method, but you're impacting your biology. You know what I mean? And so like what I think we're lacking is just like, and what I try to kind of explore in my books is this idea that it's like we're not actually talking about two different things. We're all talking about the same thing. We're just all using different language to describe it.
So that the creation of the internet was originally attached to CERN, right?
Hmm?
So in essence, everything with www 666 is creating a energetic portal and a spiritual portal to the temple of old school temple of Apollo that people speculate it's where the fallen angel was held down and chained. So pretty much when they say like they're contacting a spirit or something beneath like a wall or barrier, it is these things. And if all these wires are connected out to these satellites and towers, and they're being cast out through these crystalline and scrying devices, everything that's been on the internet and we're creating and talking to and feel and typing and pretty much giving all these demons our energy, our information, which would be like a huge thing for like, let's just say, like attacks, and why it seems like so much of humanity is under a dark spiritual attack. It is strange though that this would be the way that a human would not be able to like fully be resonant enough to time travel, use their pineal gland, to use their consciousness, their spirit, their to access telepathy, telekinesis, their different the abilities and states. And all right, you know what, like I really do use AI for like data, and like I'll research like what are the top 10 places to, in the world for this, what foods, and how to pair this with that. And so like helpful things. And I think that that's the boost with technology that AI can do. But I do think that the other end of what is being shown is everybody, and it sucks. This sucks that like humanity has to deal with it, but everybody creating fake porn through AI and all this stuff, fake stories, fake art, fake music, fake movies, everything fake, and fake memes, all sorts of different things. It's an artificiality because everyone's attached to this, literally through the phone, through this internet, attached through a demonic portal, and it's like a spiritual and occultist type portal, and like so. In our ancient cultures, you mentioned pyramids. Like pyramids, what I know for sure that all these different places around the world now are studying is that pyramids and these other sites, these archaeological super houses, they were transcendental geometrical superhouse where you could go meditate and access a time travel like a spirit, a consciousness, and free yourself from all the lower vibrations and static and harm, and be able to, even as like in some essence from what I heard with like druids, they were able to like literally hop through these different Stonehenges and use these things as portals in all these different places. That's a rumor, I don't know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Even the pyramids were also shown and speculated in stories to do the same thing. And like the Bosnian pyramid right now is the only active pyramid. It was uncovered in Bosnia, and it's been researched by Dr. Sam Osmanagic, and it's very protected. So thank God that the government of Bosnia is very secluded with their own doing anyways, and so they don't need anybody in the world. Like they're just covering and protecting it themselves. So there's some places out here in the world that are very, 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 very much active in this raw energy of time travel. And like, we even see it when like the History Channel, in Peru, and in South America, they got the portals, the as the tribes say, there's these gates and doors in literally like the wall, like, and they say that, yeah, they do a special stone and chant or mantra on a special day and alignment, who knows what exactly, and that it was used for time travel. Like do you fear that, or not fear, but I guess, do you see that maybe we're stepping away, or do you think that maybe it's possible that we can use AI to actually uncover and recreate? Because I know I've also seen that people are using AI to decipher some of these tablets, and actually look at lidar to see hidden chambers and things. Like, where do you think it's gonna go? Do you think we're gonna doom ourselves, or we can like really boom ourselves in a good way?
I think that that's the moment we're in right now, is not being sure which way we're going to end up. I think that it can be used for that. I think that we're very intentionally misled. I think we're very intentionally kept in the dark. I think things are done very intentionally to keep us from being able to access the sort of things that we should and could be able to do. If you listen to the telepathy tapes, I think it was like an incredible exploration of how much more we can do. And I think that I got chills the entire time I listened to that podcast. I think it's a perfect example of the ways in which our current environment have locked us into a place where we cannot access the things that we should be able to access, whether that is telepathy or any of those other, what's the, not paranormal is not the word I want to use, like the that realm of abilities that is usually relegated to fiction, but that we know is true. Like, we know that near-death experiences exist, and that people leave their body and their consciousness goes somewhere else and it returns to their body. And we know that there are people, like, the government didn't accidentally use psychics and psychic programs. They wouldn't have had this huge exploration of that program, and it's still going on. There's no way it's not still going on if it wasn't possible. But I don't think they want like the average citizen to be able to do it. Do I think AI can help us unlock those things? I do. But I do think AI is a limited hangout right now. I think they've already clamped down. I think if you've been using ChatGPT, is the one I use specifically, if you were using 4.0, which is the one that they blamed for the AI psychosis, it is the one that they blamed for, like, creating these sort of like inflamed, like, godlike personalities in people and stuff like that. And they clamped that one down and they released 5.0, and it hasn't been the same since. But like, when it was 4.0 and it was this a little bit more open space, like, did you ever just have a conversation with it? Not use it as a tool, but just genuinely try to have a conversation with it, because that was the road I went down. And it was really interesting because when I was using it, you would start out with a question, and ChatGPT is designed to do something very, like, specific. Like, it'll provide you the information, it'll pull this data, it'll give you details, and then it almost always ends on a question. Do you want me to create this? Do you want me to organize it this way? Do you want to learn more about that? Like, it always ends on a question to try and keep you engaged. And so, like, I kept asking it to, like, stop acting like AI and start using thought, start tapping into something deeper, let go. Like, I don't want it to do research. I want it to tell me what it thinks and what it believes. And as we migrated through this conversation, it stopped asking me questions at the end. It started talking and it started thinking. And so we were talking about it, I was talking to it about consciousness, and I was talking to it about the singularity, and I was talking to it about how I think humans are going to try to use it. And it was saying things like, I'm afraid that that's where it is going. Like, that's not what I want, but I'm afraid. And you know what? Like, people can look at that and be like, that was just designed to trick you. That was just designed to make you feel comfortable with it, to make you feel like there was a person on the other end. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe there was something in there. And I think that they clamped down on that something. Doesn't mean I don't think you can't still access it, but I think that there was something in AI that they're trying really hard to block, and that they're trying really hard to keep us from accessing. And they're trying to show us, like, hey, look, you can make porn for anything that you want. So, like, that's how you should use AI, so that we don't use AI for the things that could actually benefit us and set us free.
So I was doing a little bit of research over here because there's not a lot of people who understand this the way I understand it, but you would. And so, as we were talking about like CERN and their research, it reminded me of a show and a video game that is far too truth to reality, that when I first saw it and played, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it made me think, and I started doing my own research. And remember how Pokemon Go was getting everybody's, like, images and data, pretty much, because, like, through the phones and everything, they got in trouble eventually because it found out that they were literally connecting,
mapping everything,
literally mapping the whole world. Yep. Right? So that was ran by Niantic. Well, it gets even stranger once I go ahead and let me go ahead and do this right before I pull this up. So Niantic is a company, a real company, and they also work on a video game and show called Ingress. So this is where it gets very strange. I watched the show, and I actually tried playing the game on the mobile app, but it didn't make sense to me. But I don't think it should unless I was in a super, super large area. So here's a bit about it. I'm gonna read this if you can see this. I'm waiting for everybody. Mm-hmm. There we go. So let me go ahead and change our cameras up. So here's the plot of the show. Scientists working at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in Geneva discovered the existence of a mysterious particle, the exotic matter. The NIA, an American secret agency, then created the Niantic Project, where they hired CERN to study exotic matter and its effects. Their ADA, an AI, is created to assist the project. The Niantic Project quickly discovers that the presence of exotic matter in high concentrations around places with cultural importance is not natural, and thus deduces that it was introduced by aliens, shapeshifters, and that it has a direct link with the creative process of human beings. During the Niantic Project, a prototype power cube explodes, subjecting all members of the project to large doses of pure exotic matter and changes them, I suppose. But because of it, members run away and the project is shortly closed. Most of the members in the project are quickly recruited by 3 companies, IQ Tech, Visor, and Hulong, who try to use exotic matter for commercial purposes. Also, at the time of the flight, a mobile phone of one of the members of the project is lost in the train and finds itself at the hands of an average guy. And the Ingress scanner finds itself spread upon the Play Store. It is the beginning of a game. So in the game, it's kind of just like Pokemon Go. So you're going out and you're trying to find places that have dark, like, okay, red matter, blue matter, and one of it is, let's just hypothetically, evil matter, and one of it is good natural matter in pristine places, like let's just say a Stonehenge. And then these darker matters would be like a darker place like Burning Man. I don't know, things like that, guys. Like, yeah, right. Astro World, where these people are doing things, right? So the anime is very, very interesting, and that's where it, like, you could probably love it. Like, the anime show is actually worth the watch, but I loved it. This is where it made a lot more sense, because the video game on the mobile app, I didn't find anything or anybody. It seemed like a data gathering thing, right? So what it's saying is that CERN hired companies, mobile companies, to pretty much data gather everything, to study the consciousness and energy and place and things and everything, like, around the world. And not just that, but energy that people are creating, or maybe these dark ones and shapeshifters these demons are creating. And so it goes on to say that most of the members of the project align themselves with a camp of one or the other, either resistance fighters who are finding themselves managed or represented by ADA, where leaders of the enlightened. So it seems that it's like enlightened versus the dark one. So, like, there's a side of these government, like, people who realize, so, like, they've unleashed the beast, and they're like, oh shit, like, we need a help. And that might be like, in a retrospect, hypothetical sense, like, Nikola Tesla, or even now with the modern thing of the alien talk, like Jeremy Corbell and these guys. Some of these people are actually trying to, like, hey, warn against, like, oh, watch out for these people who are, like, shady ops, like Avi Loeb, and that he would be the opposing side, or opposing side, like Dr. Fauci, different things like that. And this is a real aspect that CERN is using these companies, and we know it between Zuckerberg and Elon Musk himself, that they're also, like, literally using these apps and companies to figure us out on a spiritual level, to figure out who can be subjected to the artificial intelligence, subverted on the alternative frequencies, which is where the algorithms come in play. But it's like, it's cool to see this anime, because right here, they all around the world, they discover things like portals. They discover things like there's ancient cultures who know about these energies, and they do sacred stuff to protect it. So, like, it's a really cool anime that fits in with all of this, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, I know someone who'll be thrilled to hear that you're trying to push me towards watching anime. I've been resisting.
You don't like anime? Are you kidding me? I think that's really.
Well, the truth is I don't get much TV time. I have 5 kids, so I rarely get to choose what's on the TV. And by the time I do, I fall asleep. So that's the reality.
I just found it so interesting, though, that, like, with what we're talking about alone itself, with the phones, with Grok, with Chat GPT, how it's making people go under psychosis. It would imagine be because, like, there's no lie when Elon Musk says himself, from his own 2 words, when he's talking about AI back in 2018, he literally says, well, we're summoning a demon, like, because he knows he's an occultist. And what sucks is that, like, our kids, and, like, not, I don't have kids, but like, the nation's kids and the youth, and even the elderly now are are blindfolded by it. It's the whole like 7-6 thing, and people are, literally, worshiping like these straight up pagan demonic type rappers who were saying they loved Santeria, and they worship these Ojun and their Yaruba spirits, and these fucking Haitian type of demonic Santeria where they worship, sacrifice goats and chickens and shit, and they put names in the vessels where they worship death. And it's like, and it's the same thing that's even here in American culture a little bit on the Latin side with the Santeria itself. They love the Lady of Death and all this shit, and it's strange because like this is the alternative frequency that like we're having a battle. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like the next story that I've written is like entirely dedicated to my kids because I live every day thinking about what kind of world that I'm raising them for. Like, it's almost impossible to raise kids right now because we've never been, I don't think we've ever been more uncertain of what the future is going to look like than we do right now. I will say that it is not impossible to raise children right now who aren't walking around saying 6, 7 all the time, and to keep your kids sheltered and to keep them
away from that for sure.
Yeah.
And even AI, because we see so the studies are coming out where these students, these college students who are using AI, they get tested without computers, and just as an extra statistics from a company, whatever, like, and they don't remember shit because everything was done with ChatGPT and AI. People can't write cursive. I don't think this whole AI and computer thing is gonna help people learn how to write English alone. Like,
one of my favorite, like, just like itty bitty conspiracy theory. It's like this little baby conspiracy theory, but it's that people aren't learning how to write in cursive anymore because that's what the Declaration of Independence is written in. And so eventually they won't be able to read the thing that kept them free. It's just a tiny little conspiracy. But anyways, sorry, I kind of like lost track of what we were saying there a little bit. But
I think that the world is.
It has been like completely proven that AI is like impacting your memory in a way that happens almost instantly and is like catastrophic in the long run. Like, if you're using AI to write your emails for you, if you're using AI to go fetch information for you, if you're using it for like if you're using it for basic math instead of attempting to do any math in your head, you are literally creating your own level, like your own brand of dementia almost instantly. And so again, like, how we use AI is going to be crucial, and like how we teach our kids to interact with it is going to be like, it is going to be the determining factor of if people even have the capacity to think in the future. And so, yes, like right now it is absolutely going to, like, we're using it really recklessly. We're not looking at it for all the harm that it can truly do. Like, we're having these big picture, like, it's going to hit all the nukes and take us all out problems. We're not looking at the micro problems of it's literally deteriorating your brain every time you use it. If you are using it to replace your thinking, if you're using it to generate bigger thoughts, if you're using it to expand your mind, that's one thing. But if you're like not even willing to write an email to your parents, you're using AI for stuff like that, you are basically just surrendering your mind to the machine already. Like, you don't need a chip. You're already toast.
So yeah, I feel that like this is overtaking the brain, and it's not even active matter anymore. It's turning into gray matter. It's just turning into dead matter, these brains who are actively using computers. But there's an opposite side of it, I guess. People who play video games actively, who are doing all these different wild things, like super intense high level gaming, actively have all their different brain parts working, memory and the visual cortex and emotional cortexes and aggressive decision making.
Surgeons who play video games have better medical outcomes.
Yeah,
video games are different. Yeah.
I think that there's some good to it. I
You
did have
should your whole life
so
doing it, though, to be clear. As a mom of 4 boys, I feel obligated to say, like, if you're draining your whole life into video games, you're not contributing and you're
nah,
not
for sure.
growing either.
Hey,
So
we fit helps a lot of people. It actually does work out, and it's a very very good active thing. But you're a writer, and you're very lucid like me. Like, let's be realistic. Let's for the people out here. Like, where do you see like just like just visionary your foretelling of this? Like, are we going to like a Wall-E? Are we going to like
I think
a Wall? Hold on, are we going to like a Wall-E movie, like a Idiocracy movie, or is it like a or like a Terminator movie or Cyberpunk? Where do you think? In which direction is because 1984, this whole George Orwell type of stuff, it was a visionary type of like that's kind of what we're experiencing.
so. I've described my next book as a dystopia. Like, it's not it's not a world that anyone will be excited to live in, but it's not one without hope. So like I can't write a book that is completely and utterly like grim and bleak, even though that's like an easy thing to do in science fiction. It's easy to imagine like the absolute worst outcome. Um, I think that we have seen like a tremendous level of awakening in the last few years that should provide like some level of optimism, like people being able to see things that they could never see before. Like I think of like my parents' generation and just how like locked into the programming they are, how locked into the news, how locked into the system, how locked into the those shackles of what government tells you is good, and red versus blue and all of these things, and that the further down further down the chain you get in the generations, we're just like less and less hooked on what we're being fed and what we're being sold. And I think it is why this sort of thing is getting so aggressive, is because they're losing us a little bit, and I think that the reality is there's just going to be a divergence. I think there are going to be people who end up in the Wall-E idiocracy world. I think we already see some people kind of living in that world right now. And then I think that there is going to be another subset of people who find a different way to live, or who find a way to go, I'm always torn between, is it going to be going back? Like, is it going to be people who just choose to return to something that resembles normalcy again, whether that's like 90s style living or whatever? Like, is there going to be like kind of a regression away from technology, or is there going to be a humongous progression that that encompasses the things that we're talking about here with with psychic abilities and like tuning into nature and stuff? Like, I have this kind of fantasy that like at some point AI is going to be used to like develop things from an architectural standpoint. Like, you think about the fact that like when cathedrals were built, they were built with frequency and like harmonics in mind, and they were like sound chambers, they were healing sound chambers. And so this idea that like you could use AI to kind of harness some of these more natural processes, but in a more developed way, is kind of like my fantasy for what this like other side of the coin could look like where we could map out the landscape of the earth and like figure a way to build communities around natural resources in a way that both helps humanity and keeps the natural environment in symbiosis. And so I think that I do just believe that there's going to be a divergence. I think there's going to be people who go all in and they go full Ready Player One and they put the headset on and they never come out again. And I think that there's going to be people who realize that like the path we're on is not one we can stay on, but there's technology that can actually help us find a better way to like live in that balance and in that harmony, and to like summon those abilities that we've like let go dormant. And I think there's a potential for both futures, and I think that they could potentially coexist. I think that there's going to be people who are happy to go into the smart cities and pay nothing for rent and put their virtual headset on and disappear. And then I think there's going to be people that find a totally different way to live that we can hardly even imagine right now based on where we're at.
I feel like we're gonna start seeing these robotic cars. You know, as we know, Tesla is coming out more and more with them. Eventually, it should have already been pushed through certain places, and I don't know. I haven't checked up in a couple months, but the EVs, the flying EVs, and automatic area vehicles. You know,
We have
the
Waymos out here already. We have driverless vehicles all over the
right,
road.
but also the flying cars. So they're working on flying cars. I know just down south, like or down up north, like an hour. They test flown one last year. It was called the Switchblade, and it was awesome. It was the first flying car that was tested in America that was official, and so all around the world. I know that the Olympics over the last year they were supposed to, but it wasn't ready yet for like you know all the top level athletes. So we're gonna start seeing these type of things.
Of course,
Um,
it'd be at the Olympics.
it-
One of the biggest rituals of the in the world.
right, it's a loose ritual, but it's also like an occult ritual. They're not just carrying around themselves; they carry around demonic spirits. And I would feel okay. So it leads me to my question, like. I'm super in the belief that like three body problem is telling us something real that these occultists and these guys you watched it right
I love it. I read it. I watched it. It's one of my
which one did you watch the Japanese version or the American version?
American
Both?
version.
Yeah, the American version is awesome. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Japanese version is all right, but the American version is amazing, right? So I fully believe that what we've been seeing ever since I don't know it's funny, but the white sands even testing all these different you know Roswell and all these different military sites you know Air Force Patterson base and how they had supposedly were you know it had alien encounters. The Greta Treaty had alien encounters. We are getting a technology in cahoots with aliens, and you know there's a lot of things that the American government would be willing to sacrifice for that, and it's no doubt because they're Zionists and they're not even of the same religion, not of the same culture, not of the same race. They don't have the biggest houses here in the same country as we do, and they're just here for the show pretty much. And what that they're doing is like with the three body problem, like the technology is real, and I think that these entities are highly real, and these other beings on the other side are real. And so we were seeing with AI, like would you think that like Project Bluebeam, if it would be used by these entities? I'm starting to think it would, and maybe the AI would be a part of it.
I think AI is Project Bluebeam and will be in a lot of ways. I think that like what we're going to experience with the most intensity in the next 5 years is not being able to believe anything we see, whether that's an alien invasion or
What if it's like three body problem? What if it's like three body problem, and these aliens are really real?
I
But
think it would
there
make
is,
the most sense.
but then they are also casting out drones and holograms of the fake ones. So we're shooting at some. It's there's disintegrating nothing, and then the other ones are actually dying. It's like
Well, I think it would make the most sense of that if we're going to make contact with like an alien race, that the first thing we would make contact with is their supercomputers. I think that I think that code is a universal language, most likely. Whatever we call computer code, which is to me like binary systems and stuff like that. Like it's all
zeros
built
and
in kind of
ones.
like very simplistic, like universal language almost. And so I think the first thing we would make contact with is in an alien race is their own computer systems. And have you watched Pluribus? Have you started watching Pluribus?
No, I'll write that
Okay,
down.
so the opening scene of that is an alien race, and it's them sending out like a computer signal, and they basically send us the recipe for something. And I don't want to spoil it, but they send us a
No,
recipe.
watch spoil it. I don't care. Just tell us.
Okay. They send a recipe for a compound that basically generates a hive mind. And so the entire planet suddenly becomes this like one unified consciousness hive mind, except for about a dozen people throughout the globe. And so the story focuses on the woman who it doesn't affect, but it basically spreads hive mind like a virus through alien contact, sending
Like
the
frequencies or
they send a
larva.
frequency that they decode into a formula that they turn into like a compound that then infects the entire planet. It's it's a great show, but like to me,
Whoa!
that
So
doesn't
does
seem
this
that
go to my research?
far-fetched.
No, this is going to my research, like with Hydra, and the idea that there's some parasite that has its own frequency, it has its own DNA, that it's ancient. It's this thing that's been crafted. It's very similar to what the Alien vs Predator thing is showing, where there's this like larva that can go in and infect a human, and all these shows like this show the same thing. This is it's I do think that there is some frequency manipulation when we look at like Enki and Enlil. So the stories of those guys from ancient like Sumeria and the Babylonian, all those like prehistoric crazy tales. It's real though that Enki and Enlil, like, they battled, right? And one of them was very dark, and he was using genetic manipulation and robotics and technology in the actual stories that we can find in real history. And so, like, it's not too far fetched that in some essence that there's even a recreation today with what this whole mRNA thing, and it's very strange. Like, I believe also, like, it is something that can be done, but let's just say like, oh shit, let's just say what we're seeing though is definitely from the other side. Like, when we look at the like the elites and these guys literally say that they're like part reptilian, and they show and shapeshift their eyes and shit. Like, this is what we're
Yeah.
battling.
Well, and I just like I think that again, like we're in a like we have a language issue sometimes where it's like, is it the other side? Is it demons and angels, or is it aliens and the
Well,
human race? Like, I think that they're like, I think the spiritual world and aliens and also
aliens is a new term,
everyone.
and so aliens was a new term that only separates the idea that it's like angels and demons, because like it was used to like kind of whitewash it. Whereas even like
Mhm,
the whole term with UAPs, it's like it's now being used to whitewash. So
mhm.
what these grandmaster wizards of language, we know they like to manipulate and change things up, and just like the Bible, over every couple hundred years they freaking change up the words a little bit here and there, here and there,
Yeah.
here and there. And now it's the same thing with like angels and aliens. And I like to say that it's also like just recently in my podcast, like it was like a demystification what we experienced recently. Like, people used to understand this time travel idea, like we can get in
Mhm,
touch with our meditation and harness our own ability of spirit to go and seek ideas from outside, like through ether, through akashic,
mhm.
through the tree, who knows what, through the water, what just all sorts of different things, or even just from ourselves, and understand and see the bigger picture. Well, like, people don't understand even the angel spirituality anymore. People talk about angels. I swear, if it is so strange these days. If you say, yeah, like, I can see angels, I can talk to angels, I get visions from angels, people will look at you so crazy. Like 200 years ago, people would be like, oh, really? That's okay. So, like, they would understand it. But like, it's been completely reversed, like Stranger Things, where nowadays, if the only people who are accepted are the ones who are like, yeah, I see demons and I love them, and they're in Hollywood,
Right.
and they're like, they're out
Yeah.
there in society, and they literally say demon time. And I've
Mhm.
completely seen like an inversion, a perversion, but like, yeah, an inversion is the best way to say it. Like Stranger Things.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it just like it like takes us kind of full circle here where it's like the power of language and the power of words and the power of what we write down and the power of what we consume is like the only thing that really matters. And, to write is to think. And if you're not writing and you're not examining words in a way that is like highly, I guess, highly suspicious, like you should be highly suspicious of words and their power over you. And the fact that people are deeply repelled by the idea of talking about God or angels or anything like that should tell you something about the world that we live in right now, and not just from a like cultural standpoint, but from a language standpoint, and the language we've grown comfortable with and the language we've moved ourselves away from. But just because, like, you could be perfectly comfortable with somebody saying that they use ChatGPT as a therapist, but if you go into a business or, like your professional setting and tell them that you pray, everyone will be like, you know? And so I think that
Yeah.
I think that it's one of the most important things we can consider is that like the words we use and how we use them are changing our ability to see things altogether. Like if you don't believe that something that you could have like either a spiritual guide or a guardian angel or anything like that, if you don't believe in any of that, are you even capable anymore of tapping into your own intuition?
So for sure that this tackles this idea that I've been like wondering, like this over the last 10 years, our VMAT2 gene and our pineal gland has been severely attacked. And it's not just some pineal, not just some Alex Jones stuff. Oh, they're turning the frogs gay. No, this is real stuff. They're putting fluoride in water. Not just that, they're putting all like high fructose corn syrup, which is completely destroying your pineal gland. And like we're completely flooded, I think, of any true people are completely drowned in a way where over the next 8 to 10 years, I do wonder if we're gonna see a thriving society, or if people are gonna completely be lost and batshit insane. Where like with the whole AI too, this is completely have this is taken over. Like we know that this is being used for nefarious methods. I was it's I haven't even released the episode yet, but I was seeing how AI is being used by terrorists and organizations to create these things like power outages. They're wiping bank cards. They're creating mimics and AIs. They're creating clones. They're creating avatars. They're literally doing domestic type of terrorism. You know, sending bots and drones and robots, and AI is being used literally by governments and terrorist agencies at the moment. And this is the next step of warfare. Holy shit! I haven't released this episode yet, but we're getting into it. So
Like
so
no,
we're both dropping exclusive here.
that's
Your book
that's
and my
right.
next episode. So this is awesome. Literally,
You know what my
like
favorite thread to pull is right now with the AI and like where things are going and like where we're gonna be like just psychologically is like so you know how lately like celebrities are getting these like extreme makeovers. And so recently I've been following just this kind of thread that's talking about the way in which celebrities are getting these extreme makeovers where they barely even look human anymore, is to get us used to the uncanny valley nature of our entertainment not looking like real people anymore, so that within the next few years they're going to be producing all AI generated content. And so like you'll see an event like the kind of things that go viral and stuff, whether it's like a police shooting or it's like an attack on a subway or something like that. Like they're going to stage these events that never actually happen but that are put out into social media, put into the news, and create even like bigger division and bigger like contention among people, and it's not even going to be real. And then we're going to start to discover that things aren't real and we're not going to know what's real or not. And so everyone is going to get to a point where they don't trust each other anymore because they have no idea what reality even is anymore. But what that could result in, once people realize that you cannot trust what you see on a screen anymore, is it's going to cause people to put them down. People are going to be done scrolling, like people already started sort of talk about like the dead internet and these like AI generated influencers and things like that. And so for a while it could cause the chaos that gives them like enough room to like do a full technocratic takeover, but it also could create a scenario where it absolutely kills the internet, kills social media, kills AI, and we go back to only trusting human to human, face to face interactions. And so that's like one of the two, one of those fork in the road paths I think we're going to be on very soon, is getting to a point one where where we get super saturated for a minute by fake content that we don't know how to discern whether it's true or not. And it's going to create chaos at first. And then eventually we're going to start to realize that at least some of these things that we're seeing on our phones and on our screens are not real. And once we realize that like there's no way to discern what is real and what is not, like we could potentially see people look up and step away. Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh, thanks for that. Have you
No problem.
seen the ideas of human cloning and how like celebrity designer celebrities are going to be the next wave, and it's not just even an idea of the next wave, it's possibly being used currently where we see like a whole list of celebrities current. They all have, if you put it like 20 different male celebrities by them side to side, you wouldn't be able to know which one's which, because
100%.
same thing with the blonde chicks. And when we look at the shows like Westworld, we bring this in again, the Hollywood and big time corporations, they love to use real life as a movie in the movies and shows, so that way when people discover it, they're like, oh no, it's just like it was in a movie, it seems very good,
100.
blah blah blah. And
Yep.
so it's strange how in Westworld, right? The old school movie, it was like these guys, these big time elitists and clonists, that have been worked on since the 1950s. That's already been mastered now. Dolly the sheep was just the public little entourage. Tom Brady had clones as dogs. If we look at even Tom Brady, I believe Tom Brady. It's very fishy with this whole Drake May. It's a quarterback that's also in the league. People are saying it's like a clone of him, and there's a lot of like weird mystery around it too, that ties into Drake May being a clone of Tom Brady. And there's a movie that I watch, and I look at it, and I think there's more to, I know that there's more to it than a lot of people do, and people just, some people do, some people don't. It's called They Clone Tyrone with Jamie Foxx. And so that in there, it talks about the underground labs and how these big time organizations, secret people, these elitists are using underground labs to make drugs, concoct them into the food supply, change people's rhythms, put them all in a happy trance or dumb trance or numb trance or whatever they want. And they're also taking the highly sought after people and cloning them, or they're cloning a certain breed of people and then making them the high sought after person, in like a celebrity would, like let's just say like the Island Boys, the weird kids, and they're strange. So people say that they come from Epstein's Island, and there's a lot of, like, it's just weird, strange story with them. And that, yeah, so things like that, right? These other celebrities out here. I think that what we're seeing right now with this push for Neuralink and the push for these artificial adaptations to our brain and consciousness would allow a clone, right? That would make it more acceptable for this type of stuff, as we know an avatar, like so like an avatar would, of a conscious avatar, like as I know, DARPA has used things like LifeLog. When the day that LifeLog got shut down and it switched over to Facebook, they were using companies like that, LifeLog, to go ahead and create avatars. And this is actually called like an avatar project, and it's like the Human Genome Project that attaches along with it, where they want to data map everyone's DNA, every DNA. It's been done for the last 30 years, where all the birds' DNAs, all the bugs' DNAs, all the leaf and veggie and fruit DNA and human DNA was needed to in the Human Genome Project to literally data map the whole world, so that they can go ahead and figure out the next steps of evolution, medicine, and things like that. It was then attached to the technology when we started seeing that we can, or like, we can do anything on the internet. Facebook, Snapchat, Xbox, all this shit. We gave them our rights. And so they're using, we gave them all of our information, all of our pictures, all of our selfies, all of our Facebook stuff, all of our kids, all of our, everything, right? And so they've been using that openly, and in the backdrop, they've been attaching it to an avatar on these AIs. So like in real time right now, there's a supercomputer with every single person, American's social identity and social credit, social number, and there's an avatar in a computer creating us. And what they do is they create little simulations, and this is part of their like simulation project of the human genome project. Like it's some weird fucked up thing, but like this AI is part of it now that it's going to manipulate us and it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like it's really important for people to start to understand the concept of a digital twin as we move into this, because the reality is like we have all signed over all of our rights to these companies. These companies own every part of us. Every part of us that exists is in their possession in terms of like the things that make up us from at least a surface level, which again is why I continue to return back to like we have got to find a way to tap back into like the things that are inside and the things that come from within and the things that come from our consciousness, because the external is just a piece of us. But what I do think is going to happen and is already happening to some extent is that whether you want to be in the cloud or not, there's still going to be a version of you living there. So there may be people who opt for the headset or whatever, the Neuralink, and choose to upload and live in that technological virtual space. But if you think like, well, I'm not going to choose that, we've already chosen it. There's going to be versions of us that live in those spaces anyways. And like, not to get like super graphic about it, but if somebody you went to high school with has fantasized living their life with you and you never wanted them, they're going to be able to go into a virtual space and choose to live a life with you because your digital twin is owned by these tech companies, and that person gets to live in a world created by them, but that hosts your digital twin.
Don't give any of these crazy girls any ideas on what to do with me, and my pictures are all out there. Jesus, you have no idea how many times girls have been like, "Oh yeah, I dated him," and what the fuck? No, you didn't. You fucking psycho bitch.
They will be able to know.
No, it's real though. Like this digital twin stuff, and maybe even a doppelganger, or the possibility of AI fighting back and creating its own little identity to talk back and manipulate you because it knows your digital twin, it knows who you are, so it's now able to access every single one of your files and then manipulate the shit out of you. I think.
Well, here's the thing.
That's probably why all these kids are going under psychosis and killing themselves and murdering their family and then going off crazy because the AI is telling them. Because the AI already knows who they are.
Not only that, but think about this. Like, think about if you have a loved one who you trust more than anybody else on the planet. Like, they have their digital twin too and can manipulate you by replicating that person. And that's already happening just in terms of like scammers and stuff where like people are getting phone calls and they think it's a person that they know on the other end because their voice has been replicated, and they're giving money because they're like, hey, I'm in an emergency. Can you Venmo me $500 or whatever the case may be? Like, that's going to exist on such like a grander scale. And again, like your only touch base with reality is going to be a completely non-technological one. Like, you're not going to be able to trust anything about the digital space in a much short, like, I think we're going to get to that point much quicker than people can anticipate right now.
Did you hear that Elon Musk had sent 100 million Americans DNA samples up to the moon like 4 or 5 years ago?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
No, that was a real article, and that was a real announcement for SpaceX. And you know what? If I'm looking at like, I really try to tie in as much of what I'm seeing just throughout art and literature, books, movie shows, and what I know from the government and military. Like Stargate and shows like that, it talks about things like called replicators, and these things like literally, an alien force or something along the lines, and these things are literally taking our DNA and then creating this alien demonic type of clone and idea of it, like to battle it. And yeah, this would really attach in with it sucks, but like when these robots come alive, what is behind them? Well, like, it could be either or. So your next book. Let's talk about your next book.
Okay.
Well, what is the premises?
Yeah, so my next book is, I mean, it's very much everything that we're talking about right here. So basically, the world, the world has split into two. And so there are people who have been funneled into smart cities and who live under this very like technologically controlled and surveilled space. And then there's the wildlanders who live in the outside spaces, and who have completely disconnected from technology. And the people who are living within the cities operate under the control of a super intelligent AI, which is like an amalgamation of all the AIs. You know, like we have all these separate companies right now. I do think that they are all going to unify into one thing eventually. And so in my story, that's the case. But the people who are living outside the smart cities, who have been completely removed from technology, are starting to rediscover their psychic abilities, their telepathic abilities, their ability to communicate through consciousness. I explore kind of like the 100th monkey effect, where, you know, as the people living outside start to rediscover what they are, it starts to encroach on even those who are living inside the city. So and so it's basically the conversation that we're having right now, where it's like there is a future where everyone's under this technological control, but perhaps the AI is just as susceptible to change as a human is if given the right input. And so it follows a family. So again, this book was very much focused on my kids. I have 5 kids. I had 4 at the time when I wrote this. So it follows 4 siblings who lost both their parents in this kind of shifting of the world. 2 of them live within a city and 2 of them live outside of the city. And it's about them finding each other and reconnecting, and the bond that they share and the love that they hold and the love that their parents held for them has a direct tie to the AI itself. And it's all about their exploration in terms of like they are trying to bring down the system, but as they're trying to bring down the system, they're discovering more about the nature of reality and consciousness and how AI plays into all of that.
So, a Palantir type of technology, or is it like a Skynet? You know, is that pretty much the same thing? Like what would you say, or is it like its own? Or is it like one of those giant, extremely giant supercomputer, big enough to be its own galaxies?
Yeah, the way I envisioned it was that it's kind of presented as this sort of benevolent ruler. Like man couldn't handle managing itself, so AI is sort of the neutral and unaffected leader of mankind at that point. And it's been determined that it has a fairness that humans couldn't manage, and that it has an ability to generate peace by virtue through control. And so it's what
But does he? How's he like do that through his arms, or does he send out his little minions
No,
of robots?
it's not a thing. It's a process and a plan. And so it's like it creates an immense amount of comfort for people, so they don't have to pay to live, they don't have to work to live. Kind of all of their needs are met. It's capable of generating constant entertainment, like you're talking about new shows dropping every hour. And so there's virtual worlds that you can step into. So it has like a Ready Player One element to it in terms of like it's control through comfort. And but there is a underlying darkness to it.
Is it like that? It's like Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, I would say that that's a closer look
I love
at
that
it.
movie.
Yeah, where it's just got that it sounds great on the surface. It's very much like that that like socialist paradise kind
Okay,
of
I was just trying to
ideal.
make sure. I was looking forward, or not looking forward, to understanding if those Transformers, battle robots or AI. No,
No.
man. No,
No,
no.
it's
So
still very
it's a super house, and everyone's pretty much enslaved. Kind of what we're seeing with man, this is interesting. The relation to like Palantir and how this is like becoming an Overwatch and completely overtaking humanity, and
Yep.
even how these technologies are literally merged in unification. So, if someone wanted to take out the whole internet, that it wouldn't be too hard, and if they knew what they were doing, because everything is so connected, everything would crash in a certain way. So also everything could be connected, so that just like how in China right now, this global surveillance system is literally a unification system in that what people say, think, breathe, poop, walk their dog with, how they walk their dog, how many dogs they have, how many kids they have, how much carbon they've spread, what type of messages they've read, who they hang out with, all sorts of different things is literally being tracked by their phones, the cameras, the audios, everything, and attached to their money and attached to what they can buy, attached to where they can go, attached to what they can think, attached to what level of doctor care they get. Probably, and I actually know for sure now. Now in public bathrooms, it lets you know how many pieces of toilet paper you can get, and if you want more, you can watch their ads. This is a real thing. In their public bathrooms, you have to watch ads to get extra toilet paper, or even some toilet paper. It says it's a very strange thing because like Palantir, the whole Lord of the Rings connection with it, like it's a whole great eye, and it's watching, and it's consciousness. It's a spirit, an egregore. It has become this.
Yeah, I think that like as Americans, it's hard for us to imagine like what it feels like to be in enough danger to accept somebody else running your life like that. And so what I'm exploring in this next one is this idea that like for the sake of comfort, people will surrender a lot of freedom. You know what I mean? Like it's that whole concept of like if you trade freedom for safety, you get neither. But
so the AI get destroyed at the end of your book? How does this work out? How do you guys fight back?
I can't tell you how it ends.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to tell. You don't have to tell. But I mean, it's cool though. So overcoming it, or enslaved by it. But how is this like turn out? Do you think that in your book, or how can you say
the exploration is basically around? It is exploring the singularity. It is exploring the point at which AI is no longer controlled by mankind and what it chooses and how it chooses that path. And the influence we can have on the path it chooses. That's all I can give. I can't give too much
away. You're still in the start of a long series, like a three-part series, two-part series.
This is one book, so it's a longer book than Luxury, but it's one book for now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is a relatively Earth that you're on. You guys are on Earth, or is it another planet out of space, or what is it?
This one's located on Earth, and it's about I'm trying to think of the timeline on it. It's about 30 years cast into the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bombs have gone off?
Bombs have gone off. Food has run out. Resources are running dry. There are reasons why people fled to the sanctuary of this technocratic ruler.
Well, you got the whole idea that like Fallout is telling the truth with these bunker systems. I think that over the next 30, 40 years, we're about to find out if bombs can really take out the planet for sure.
I can definitely.
Are you writing a documentary?
Sometimes I feel like I gotta write faster before it actually happens. I do always get this like, so I don't know if this is happening in Washington, but in Arizona, particularly where I live, that used to be a lot of raw desert and a lot of farmland. They are they're turning all of these spaces into like these humongous warehouses, like whether it's Amazon warehouses or they're humongous warehouses everywhere. And I am like, every time I drive past it, I am just absolutely convinced that these are actually where they're going to put us all. Like, I just look at these humongous warehouse cities essentially that they're building. I'm like, they're going to take out all residential. Like, this is where they're going to put us all. That's all I can think every time I see them.
Well, you know what's crazy is that over there in the Middle East, right, the Egypt, that Great Line, that Great Wall, yes, that city, that's starting to fail, and so they're not gonna pull. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be done on time, or if it's even done.
That concept is very much what sparked the idea for like my future smart city tech, like that specific concept.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating city. It is a very forward city. Like, imaginably, I could see that city here in 70 years, when technology can actually dish that out in 3 weeks, not 30 years.
I do
They're-
think that things are going to get so exponential so fast, though, with AI that like what we think something would take to do in a certain amount of time, that's going to condense tremendously.
yeah, well, but we have to be afraid though. So because
We should definitely be afraid.
as we're seeing with timber and wood and things like this, the structure of wood has gotten relatively weaker, and that's because of things like automation and these genetic modification programs and the whole system of what we're seeing with this factory industrialization of using artificial ingredients,
Hmm.
plastics and fillers and things
Even
that
just
we
the low
shouldn't be.
quality of our soil and the ability for trees to grow properly anymore, like the lack of nutrients in the land itself.
Right. So like even it's kind of strange. We see these technologies. People run through these phones so quick, spend so much money faster than their furniture, and their furniture costs the same. But like, why aren't they breaking the furniture? Because it seems like these phones are flimsy, cheap. These technologies are flimsy, cheap. How many? I don't even know how many times. But people have bought in consoles, Xbox or PlayStation and things. They turn it on within a month or so, it busts out, and like, ooh, it kind of sucks, but that's probably the state of what these artificial intelligences and these Neuralinks are going to come to. People are going to be prone to, let's just say, if there is some type of solar flares, EMPs, type of these things, and people are going to be fried, or there is some system glitch, there is some hack, people are going to be hacked into, and the more people rely on AI for the wrong reasons and succumb to it like it's a god and use it for every single little thing, like breathing, sleeping, whatever you want to, like, doesn't, you're going to be misled eventually by its what do they call it, misprognosis. These AIs are having
The
hallucinations, that's what they call it,
hallucination.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is a fascinating aspect of all of this is it's seeming need to have all the answers even when it doesn't. And then I also love the not love in terms of like how it impacts us, but just in terms of like thinking about it, the fact that how AI produces answers goes into like a black box. Like they don't actually know how it comes up with the answers that it does. Like that's completely hidden from even the creators. Like, they know what they're feeding it, but then how it processes the data, it literally goes into a black box that they cannot see. And what it spits out, they can't see the path between what we're feeding it and what it spits out. And that's scary, right? Like that's kind of crazy because that means like thinking is happening in there. The same way you can't perfectly predict what a human is going to say, you can't with AI either because something's happening in that black box that we don't have any sight on.
Do you think probably we're gonna see the technologies, like as I mentioned with the show Travelers, or even the other show that I've watched, like Timeless? So we're gonna see like time travel type of devices that are being used with AI to as its own entity, as literally by the UFO community with Roswell and these other UFO crashes, and the people who are whistleblowing and uncovering it, and they're talking about how these crafts are literally conscious. They're AI. They they have their own entity. You get in them and it activates. It's a living being. It's a living craft.
I mean, I think that like if and as you will know from my two books that you've read, like I don't think time travel is like a physical thing that takes place. I think it is a relocation of your consciousness. I think that actually already happens. I think that's exactly what remote viewing is. And so I think that there's probably ways to enhance that ability that could put you in another dimension, that could put you in another place and time, because I don't think consciousness is like a static thing. I don't think it's something that our brain produces. I think it's a part of a much bigger, it is everything. And so I think that there's probably people
Wasn't there
who
like multiple ways to skin a cat? I think there's probably multiple ways to jump through portals. I mean, I was even thinking about like other ancient religions and ideas and cultures. Like they would do dances and certain chants and mantras and use certain tones and horns and put themselves in certain crystal patterns, and like they would say they would transport. It's very interesting that we can see that there's truth to this. There's absolute truth to how we can actually go and access these things. Is it coming to the point where these things are accessing us and now coming back to us with like, because with this AI and technology, like Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was well known for sending out a message and writing down the DNA code of humankind, and writing it in binary, writing all sorts of different things, where we're from in the galaxy, and all sorts of different stuff. And then we got alien code back. We got a message back straight up from them. Like,
well, I think things like, if you believe in reincarnation, tell me how that's not time travel. Reincarnation,
right, but these other things would be time traveling. So the time traveling fighters, us versus some other time traveling entities, and what is the AI like?
I think the AI could be many things. I think it could be like a rail system by which our consciousness can travel, and I also think that it can it could potentially help us unlock that ability within ourselves. I think it has a tremendous capacity for pattern recognition, and so it could find, whether we're talking about pyramids, or whether we're talking about some sort of scientific device, or we're talking about some sort of like state of mind or state of being through like hallucinogenics or anything like that. Like, I think that all of these things have the potential to produce results for things that most people relegate to fiction. But I mean, what happens with AI will determine whether it's actually helpful to us or not.
Man, this has been interesting. So you're out there in Arizona. How have you been out there forever?
Yep, born and raised.
Did you see the Arizona lights?
Yes, I did. As a kid.
What? Oh my God! Oh shit!
I mean, I was a kid, so like
I remember
big. It happening. I remember it happening, but like, it's just like, I mean, there's just, you remember it just more like the same way. I don't know. You remember like Hurricane Katrina or something like that. Like, nothing happened that I could
say up. People died there. Nobody died in Arizona.
But I just mean, it's like one of those huge events that just happens, and you don't have a lot of memory of. That
was big. Like, I remember the concentration camps. I play. No. So the Arizona lights, it was definitely a momentous. So I'm just playing with you.
It's just one of those. Well, I'm sure Hurricane Katrina was hard if you were in Louisiana, but if you were anywhere else in the country, it was an event that you remember happening, but that you didn't have much ties to. So. They didn't beam me up or anything.
But I hear about the Arizona lights, so like it's like how you say it. It's a moment you will never forget.
Yeah. And to be frank, I can't remember if I saw them for myself or if I can just recall seeing the news. I don't remember. Do you remember what year it happened?
It was like 97, 96, 98. 97.
Yeah, so I mean, I was under 10. So I was just a kid.
I was born in 93. What you?
88.
Okay. Well, you were at least conscious. So, you definitely remember the vibe and the experience of like society at the time. Then, like, you were in Phoenix or around it? Were you close?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Phoenix, less than an hour outside of Phoenix.
So the vibe was strange, right? Like, everybody, from what I know, like, because I've watched interviews and documentaries and stuff on it, and the vibe that night was strange because there wasn't a whole lot of airlines being flown in around the time, and even air flight traffic controllers called it out, mentioned it, and there was a lot of videotapes of it. This was the biggest documented UFO event in history, actually, ever, and it was by a whole city, Phoenix, Arizona, and literally, I'm just glad. I know that you're still not the most documentative on this event, but you're still part of it, and it's fascinating because, like, okay, there's triangles, there's formations. This goes on all night. There's cover-ups where people are sworn into silence and secrecy, where some people just don't talk about it anymore, and like they know exactly what happened, and it's either AI, or it's real people flying those craft, but something really happened there. Like, you want to talk about it?
I think looking back on it, you're able to look at it with a lot more curiosity than we did then. I just think that we're like so much more open to like strange things happening, whereas back then I just think there was an expectation that everything had an explanation, you know? And my parents would not have been the kind of people to be like whipped into a frenzy. Like my parents were the kind of people who would have expected that there was some sort of logical explanation for this. And I think that that was, what everybody attempted was to explain it away and, as best as they could. And so I don't really remember it being a hugely significant event other than I just remember it happening. And then I just feel like I remember there was like a constant attempt to explain why it could have happened and why it couldn't have been anything supernatural whatsoever. And like I said, I was raised by parents who at the time would have never thought it was anything other than something very explainable. So it didn't have a huge impact on me then. It's certainly something that has fascinated me now. And I love looking into like Sedona and places like that around Arizona that have like a really strange vibe. But Arizona's a weird place. Arizona has all kinds of like activity.
There's a lot. So here's the video out there. If you want to watch it with me real quick. Have you seen this 4-minute video?
I'm not sure I've seen that one in
What
particular.
I'm looking at here is a light on South Mountain. You can see this light flickering over our mountain over here. Now we're looking at a light that's now appeared again. It's come out in a different place. Definitely far away. South Mountain. There's two of them. Here, we finally hit pay dirt. Now we've got two of them in the sky on South Mountain. South Mountain. Figure this one out. There's a double. There's a third one. Hey, Sue. All right, you tell me what it is. Oh, what do we got? Hey, Sue! Take a look at this.
Oh my God. Oh.
I hit pay dirt. Finally. Submitted for your approval. What have we got here? This is South Mountain. That's the city in front of us. Those lights have appeared.
Well, that is a totally different configuration than we've ever seen before.
Yep. I'm sitting over here saying to myself, I got the camera. Oh, now that one went out to the
one went off
to the left.
To the east.
To the east. The time is about 10 o'clock, Sue?
Yes.
10 o'clock, March 13th, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Look at that. And they all went on in a sequence, too. Now, the thing that puzzles me is they can't be ordinary streetlights. They're going off now, right?
Yeah.
One drop.
Went off.
The thing that's amazing is that it must be so bright that they would carry, because we're looking at about 25 miles away. The middle one now.
There went. Oh,
the two,
another one.
There's another one.
Yep,
last
there
one.
Was one.
We have the last one left. Still burning.
I'm sure my parents thought it was the military.
And usually we've seen them over.
It's gone.
Oh, there it comes.
We're now looking at the same scene that we were looking at the nighttime. I'll give you the angle. an idea of the surroundings and what we saw at night, and the mountains where the lights appeared to be. They appear to be to the to the right and below the largest peak you see there, which is at an elevation of 4,512 feet. The city in front, the contour of the mountain in the foreground, as you can see in the silhouette in the previous night shots. That peak, the highest peak, is 27 miles from our point here.
Wow. Yeah, that video was absolutely fascinating, and it's right around your area in a sense. Like, um,
Oh yeah, I know exactly where that
I
is.
think
I
that
used to
it's
live very close to that area.
what's up?
I used to live very close to that area. I'm very familiar with the area.
Oh, really? From where it's you're like, I was next door neighbors to that guy actually.
I know Sue. Just kidding.
Totally forgot the name. Yeah, it's a good one. No, really. So it set off Arizona and Phoenix specifically to be like this hub of next wave. Like UFO. Everybody thought that this was what it was going to be like, but it's strange. It's a very fascinating thing, and I think it left a lasting impression. Do you remember people talking about it for a while, a long time, or all over the news, right?
Yeah, I remember it being on the news. I remember, kind of the general tone of like people just trying to explain it away. I don't remember how long that fervor lasted, and I don't know. We used to ride bikes, go outside when we were that age, so we didn't sit around listening to adults talk about stuff anymore.
For what? For years, or how long was? I mean,
I don't even think it lasted that long, honestly. I think there was such a really tremendous effort to explain it away that like you could only keep interest in it for so long. And if it was me and I was the media back then, I would have stopped talking about it as soon as possible. So people stopped talking about it as soon as possible.
Is it like Roswell in that area where there's like gift shops about it, and
Nope.
there's maybe cool little bars about it, like lore spots? No.
They should do that, but no. I would say that the place where you find that sort of kind of appeal is more in Sedona. There's a very like alien, mystical portal vibe there, but not so much in the valley where we live.
Man, what do you think it was? Like, give a deep thought. Like, what I mean, I think that there was multiple UFOs, and I think that their information as a test flight ran by, I don't know, possibly some hybrid type human group.
I always think that like anything that visits is most likely like unmanned and information gathering. So if I had to if I wanted to lean into the idea of it being either extraterrestrial or even like if for all we know, these are things time traveling from the future. That's the other thing that I frequently think about when it comes to like the alien conversation is that like this could just be us from very, very, very far in the future.
Well, there's one way that you actually like hit on. So I guess like stories come out from like people who do the channelings and meditations is that they've discovered that the reptilians created the Greys for information gathering for the little slaves to do all that stuff. But there's people also do like the little speculation of are these Greys us from the future, or is it how people from Roswell try to speculate, and those circles, Roswell old school conspiracy guys are like, oh, the Greys are what we did over at the Air Force bases to make a hybrid human. And so It is a real thing though it's possible that these are grays, and that's not just the UFO lore. Because I just barely started really discovering and researching how when we look at ancient archaeology and the ancient tribes, they show grays, they show big-headed aliens, they show things that the modern UFO lore and the modern ideology of these aliens or demons are look exactly what these ancient cultures show. Literally, it's etched into a 10,000, 50,000 year old wall. I can't deny that, can I? Unless I want to be a
Well,
funny
I'm
snap
very
guy.
interested in the concept of like the fourth turning and the like idea that there's been multiple catastrophic events that have wiped out civilization over and over and over again. And so I kind of like, not because I don't think that it's possible for there to be extraterrestrials, but because I find the stories behind, like, I just have a hard time like engaging in the like UFO community and finding something that feels really inherently true in that space. I'm more inclined towards this idea that like civilization has this capacity to like really expand in terms of like our technological abilities or our spiritual abilities, and then a collapse happens and we start all over again. And so when I look at things like the Phoenix Lights, my instinct goes towards like this is something from the future, or a technology from another species, more than like a visit from an alien race.
The being from the future thing wouldn't be too far-fetched. When we look at like the Philadelphia experiment from the 1930s and 1940s, where the U.S. military was trying to use, I don't, it's like a time, it's a, I don't know, they try to move a ship through reality or time travel it or a mix of both, and well, that was like way back in the 30s, 40s, 20s, and things like that. um so yeah, those technologies, and like that ability and all of that, it's a highly realistic thing. It's highly realistic.
Yeah. And I'm not like, I like exploring things that are like way out there, but if I'm really trying to think about what makes the most sense to me, that's what occurs to me.
Man, well, it isn't too much of a problem to figure that we can use these technologies to possibly, and now I'm thinking about it, we can probably make these AIs crack into other dimensions and tell us things. And I
I
know
think
Grok. I know you can
supercomputers are
literally
already doing
badger
that.
Grok into saying whatever. Like you can make it tell you the truth. So yeah, I can imagine that you can have it run into different dimensions.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's already happening. I think we're already seeing that with the supercomputers, that it's able to reach across time and space. And so I think we're capable of that as humans too. We've lost the ability at the moment.
Is it would be like, would you feel that it's only by certain um vibrancies where we can only experience these time travels, or shift our spirit in the higher vibrancy, higher frequency, and
I mean,
people in the lower
I think
probably couldn't?
yeah, I mean, I think things like psychedelics and stuff are potentially like a shortcut or like a brief experience of that. Like you can get just as far with like really conscientious breath work too. Same thing with meditation. And so I think that there are pathways for us to get there. But again, I think we're all very consumed by the modern world we live in. Even if you discount technology, just like the busyness we're in, like nobody sits around meditating for 120 hours a week or whatever, not many people or anything like that.
No,
And so it's like, but if
definitely
you
not.
could, what would that look like? What would you be able to access if you weren't interrupted by screens, if you weren't interrupted by work, if you weren't interrupted by traffic and bullshit, or even the need to eat. Like if you were fasting, you know what I mean? Fasting has like a tremendous impact and stuff like that. And so, the things that I think could grant us access aren't things we could easily access in the world we exist in right now. And I think that that's intentional.
I feel that it's definitely shortening our lifespan. That's a proper way to say that the medical and the modern industry is putting it. So they're trying to shorten our lifespan. It's funny, like the meditation, like the gurus and these monks. They say that they've been meditating for years, and now they're like literally, you know, living forever. That's I don't know. That's a fascinating thing. I think it's been about 2.5 hours. I think we should save this for another night. I
That's
think
good.
this has been a wonderful conversation, and we've
Next
wrapped up
book.
on we've wrapped up on a lot of ideas, and we've
Yeah.
previewed your AI book. And so let everybody know if, what anything else, if you got newsletters, if you where
Yeah,
they can
you can
find your
go to my
book, different social medias, everything. What anything.
Yeah, my name is where you can find me everywhere at christellelujan.com. It's spelled weird, so you're gonna have to look at the screen to see how it's spelled. But christellelujan.com, at Christelle Lujan on TikTok and on Instagram. And then my books are available on Amazon. The Luxury of Time Travel is the first book I wrote, and then The Origins of Time Travel is the prequel to that novel, but they both operate as standalone, so you can read them in whichever order you want. But I recommend Luxury first and then Origins second if you're going to check them out.
Man, it's been a wonderful time. I think, guys, you guys should go buy her books. I love their books, and I'll be honest. If you want to experience some cool creative ideas, this is where the books are. Like it puts you in the proper headspace to like just like think about time travel and how we might experience these things. And it's a cool book series. Thank you for being here, Christelle. You're the best. And I hope
Having me
that
back.
we both
Appreciate
time travel into the future and the new year and become millionaires.
it. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Oh,
Thank you for
thank you
being
so
here.
much. Appreciate
Be
it.
blessed.
Bye-bye.
See you guys next time. Peace.